Restore Britain hit 100,000 members in 15 days. To put that in the only context that matters, Reform UK, under Nigel Farage, the most recognisable brand on the British right now, needed 5 months to reach the same number. UKIP, in decades of trying, never got there at all. But first, I need to tell you about the pig. Because while Restore Britain was rewriting membership records, a rival right-wing outfit called Advance UK, 40,000 members, Elon Musk endorsed them, Tommy Robinson on board, stood their first parliamentary candidate, a well-regarded local charity worker with an MBE, their best possible electoral debut, on paper. They came 7th, behind a candidate called Sir Oink A-Lot, by 5 votes. Both things are true at the same time. So let's start with what actually happened. On the evening of the 13th of February, Rupert Lowe published a 7-minute video filmed on his farm in Norfolk, announcing the launch of Restore Britain as a national political party. The video hit 2.4 million views within hours, with Elon Musk posting directly, "Join Rupert Lowe in Restore Britain because he is the only one who will actually do it." The launch video eventually reached over 30 million views. Day 3, 50,000 members. Day 5, 70,000. Day 7, 80,000. Day 15, the 28th of February, Lowe posts on X, "Restore Britain has 100,000 members. History in the making." He wasn't wrong about the history part. Reform UK, when Farage took the leadership in June 2024, had around 40,000 members. It took until late November 24, roughly 5 months, to reach 100,000. The SDP, one of the most dramatic British party launches of the 20th century, reached 65,000 members in its entire first year. UKIP, the loudest party in the room for over a decade, peaked at around 45,000 members. The Green Party's membership expansion between 2014 and 2015, treated at the time as a political earthquake, added 52,000 members over 18 months. Restore Britain claims to have done it in a fortnight. Now, because this channel's credibility depends on not just telling you what sounds good, a caveat. These figures are entirely self-reported by the party. No independent body has verified them yet. Membership costs £20 a year, and sign-up is digital only, which almost certainly makes the numbers look larger by comparison to parties that required in-person sign-ups or higher fees historically. And Restore Britain wasn't even fully registered with the Electoral Commission until the 4th of March. So, take the numbers seriously? Yes. Treat them as gospel? No. What you can say with confidence is this: even accounting for all of that, the rate of growth is absolutely extraordinary. The direction is real. Something is actually happening here. By the 2nd of March, Lowe was announcing well over 10,000 volunteers offering their time, and posting, again quoting directly, "A political party has never seen such rapid organic growth. A start for Restore Britain I could have not realistically imagined. Let's kick on." Dozens of local branches becoming operational. 5 candidates announced for Norfolk County Council seats. The federated structure, Grand Yarmouth First as the prototype, being built at speed. And before we go any further, as a brief reminder of the terrain, since the full policies were covered last time, Restore Britain has a 133-page document titled Mass Deportations, Legitimacy, Legality and Logistics, Net Negative Immigration, a referendum on reinstating the death penalty, abolition of the Welsh Senedd and Scottish Parliament, and in the same document, sitting alongside all of those, Restore the British Pub. The most telling sign that Restore Britain is being taken seriously is not the polling numbers, it's not the membership count, not the number of ex-followers, it's that both major parties have visibly repositioned since the pressure around Rupert Lowe began building. That's the establishment acknowledging, without saying so, that the political ground beneath them is moving. So, let's start with Labour. On the 12th of May 2025, Keir Starmer gave what became known as the Island of Strangers speech, warning the UK risks becoming, in his words, an island of strangers. Political scientists noted at the time that the speech could have been delivered almost in its entirety by Reform UK leader Nigel Farage. Farage himself stood up in Parliament and told Starmer, "We very much enjoyed your speech on Monday. You seem to be learning a very great deal from us." Starmer later said he deeply regrets the phrase. The immigration white paper that followed was titled, and I want you to notice this, "Restoring Control over the Immigration System." Even the name echoes Brexit-era language. It proposed extending the settlement qualification from 5 to 10 years, raising skill thresholds, ending overseas care worker recruitment, and toughening deportation powers. A University of Southampton and LSE study tracked the impact of Labour's rightward pivot on immigration. The findings: Labour support fell 4 percentage points among its own voters. 0 gain among anti-immigration voters. Not 1. Human Rights Watch described a further November 2025 asylum overhaul as capitulation. Durham University concluded that chasing the far right on immigration only enables them to set the government agenda and serves to normalise extreme positions. Labour moved right, lost its own voters, gained 0 new ones, and is now being lectured about going too far by the very right-wing parties it was trying to outflank. The political equivalent of selling your house to buy a lottery ticket, and then being told you picked the wrong numbers by the man who sold you the ticket. In August 2025, Reform announced plans to deport 650,000 plus people using removal centres in remote parts of the country. Language Farage himself had previously described as a political impossibility. That's Reform hardening on immigration. At the same time, moderating on economics. The manifesto for large tax cuts dropped in November 2025. Robert Jenrick reinstating the 2-child benefit cap. Farage calling Vladimir Putin a very bad dude, a notably different register from where he was 2 years ago. Arden Strategies described this as Reform scraping the barnacles off the boat, trying to appear electable to mainstream voters, while Restore Britain occupies the hardline territory Reform used to own. And then there's the speech, 23rd of February, Farage at Dover. Without naming Restore Britain directly, I fear that we will see a rise of a really worrying, dangerous form of extreme right ethno-nationalism, and I think we're beginning over the last couple of weeks already to see some specimens of it. He also said Restore's mass deportation proposals were beyond a point of reasonableness, decency or morality. The man who spent 25 years as the face of British Euroscepticism and anti-immigration politics is now warning about people who are too alarmed about immigration. There are many words you could use to describe Farage's career. Moderate has not, historically, been prominent among them. Ben Habib, former Brexit Party MEP, former Reform UK co-deputy leader, sacked in July 24 when Farage returned and replaced him with Richard Tice. Farage's assessment of Habib on departure: he's gone very bitter, very twisted, it's very sad, frankly, it's a huge relief. Habib launched Advance UK on the 30th of June last year, which is, and the universe truly has no shame, the exact same day Restore Britain launched as a pressure group. Advance UK claims 40,000 members, holds 10 councillor seats, all from defections, none won at the ballot box. In August 2025, Tommy Robinson joined. Elon Musk initially endorsed Advance UK, saying Advance UK will actually drive change. Farage is weak sauce who will do nothing. Then, in February 26, Musk quietly switched his endorsement to Restore Britain. Ben Habib watched 30 million people watch Rupert Lowe's farm video, and he decided to propose a merger on Valentine's Day. Because the universe also has a sense of humour. Habib posts on Facebook, "I am utterly delighted Rupert Lowe has decided to convert Restore Britain into a political party," and then announces merger plans, 2 parties becoming one, a united British right, strength together. Rupert Lowe's response was, and I mean this as a description of its surgical precision, devastating in its absence. He didn't respond publicly. His only comment was that Habib and Advance UK members were free to join Restore Britain as individuals, not the merger of equals Habib had announced to his supporters. Not a partnership, not even an acknowledgement. Just pay your 20 quid and get a membership card like everyone else, mate. After 9 days of silence, Habib released a video 9 minutes long. I've had no response. Here's the issue, Rupert. I don't know what Restore Britain is. I've had a look at your website, but there's no draft constitution there. The only document about which I'm aware are the Articles of Association of your company, that shows a company limited by 1 share, a private limited company, limited by 1 share which you own. Rupert, you are the owner and dictator of Restore Britain. And building to a climax, I will not bend, I will not give in, I will stand for this country until my last breath is given. This is a man who proposed a merger on Valentine's Day, got ghosted for 9 days, and came back at full volume. The perfect summary of this entire situation came from Heritage Party leader David Curtin, who said, Nigel hates Ben. Ben hates Nigel. Nigel hates Rupert. Rupert hates Nigel. Ben loves Rupert. Rupert's fans would deport Ben. genuinely Shakespearean, specifically the comedies. The Gordon and Denton by-election, 26th of February, triggered by the resignation of Andrew Gwynn, suspended from Labour for offensive WhatsApp messages, resigned on health grounds. Advance UK chose this as their first parliamentary test, and on paper, they chose well. Their candidate was Nick Buckley MBE, founder of one of the largest community organisations in Greater Manchester, a man who had already received 7.6% of the vote in the 2024 Greater Manchester mayoral election as an independent, described at the time as running a vigorous and well-funded campaign. By any reasonable measure, Advance UK's strongest possible candidate in one of their target areas. Here is the complete result. Can you see it? I can see it. So of course you've got Hannah Spencer first, Green Party, second Matt Goodwin, Reform UK, this lady from Labour, here we go, we've got Conservatives down here, got fifth the Lib Dems, and then number 6, Sir Oink A-Lot, monster raving loony party with a whopping 159 votes, and then in 7th place, Nick Buckley, Advance UK, 154 votes. Advance UK, the party that Elon Musk endorsed, that Tommy Robinson joined, that held a conference at the Emmanuel Centre, that claims 40,000 members, beaten by a pig, by 5 votes. And Sir Oink A-Lot did not attend any hustings. A pig-themed candidate who did not show up to the debate, campaign slogan, think big, vote pig, beat Nick Buckley MBE by 5 votes. David Vance, right-wing commentator, not exactly a Labour sympathiser, delivered the verdict. Ben Habib's Advance UK had a decent local candidate in the form of Nick Buckley, and they got less than 0.5% of the vote. This is embarrassingly poor, and there is no sugarcoating it. Advance UK is electorally irrelevant. Now, the reason this matters for Restore Britain, beyond being genuinely funny, which it is what the Reform number tells you. Reform, 10,578 votes. Advance UK, 154. That is the electoral market to the right of Reform. Not 40,000 members, not Musk endorsements. 154 votes. 5 fewer than a pig who wasn't even there. The only BPC member pollster to have included Restore Britain in its tracker is Find Out Now. In November 2025, still in pressure group days, a party-commissioned poll put support at 10% with a prompted new party option. Commissioned by Restore Britain themselves, so apply the appropriate caveat. More significant is the independent work from February and March 2026. Find Out Now ran an independent tracker of 3,029 adults on the 20th and 21st of February 2026. The headline, 7% nationally, for a party that had been in existence for 1 week. By the 3rd and the 4th of March, another independent Find Out Now poll, 2,082 adults, still 7%, so the number is holding. For context, that 7% makes Restore Britain the 6th largest party by vote share in that poll, behind Reform at 25%, Greens at 18%, Labour at 16%, Conservatives at 16%, and the Lib Dems at 11%. The strongest among 18 to 29-year-olds at 11%. And the number that should concern Farage more than any membership figure, 15% of 2024 Reform voters now back Restore Britain. A JL Partners poll from February 2026 found that 86% of the British public cannot identify Rupert Lowe when shown his photograph. Among Reform voters specifically, somewhere between 71 and 86% cannot name him. By comparison, only 17% cannot identify Nigel Farage. To be fair, 3 weeks in, Farage didn't have universal name recognition in 2013 either. But this is the single most challenging figure for Restore Britain's electoral prospects. You can have those numbers, 30 million views, 7% in the polls. If the vast majority of the country doesn't know even who you are, winning seats under first past the post is, to put it charitably, ambitious. Let me show you what first past the post does to parties like Restore Britain. Not predictions, real numbers. 2024 general election. Reform UK, 14.3% of the votes. 4,117,610 people. 5 seats. The Liberal Democrats got 3.5 million votes, 500,000 fewer than Reform, and won 72 seats. Reform needed 800,000 votes to return 1 MP. The Conservatives needed roughly 56,000. In 2024, a Reform vote was worth approximately 1/15 of a Conservative vote in terms of parliamentary representation. One person, one vote. But some votes are 15 times more equal than others. UKIP in 2015, nearly 4 million votes, one seat. The SNP got 56 seats on 1.5 million votes, roughly 150 times more representation per vote than UKIP. UKIP finished second in 120 constituencies and won precisely one of them. Based on all historic parallel, a new party polling at 7% with geographically spread support would win, in any normal election year, approximately 0 seats. Even at 12.6%, UKIP won 1. Even at 25.4%, the SDP Liberal Alliance won 23, which felt like a catastrophe at the time, and was. For Restore Britain to win 20 to 30 seats, they would need either extremely concentrated geographic support, like the SNP model, a national vote share exceeding 20% with strong regional concentration, or the total collapse of both Reform and the Conservatives in target seats, none of which is remotely plausible by 2029. The most honest projection, best case, 1 to 5 seats in areas with genuine local organisation. Great Yarmouth being the most obvious candidate. Likely case, 0 to 1 seats, with vote share acting primarily as a spoiler for Reform and Conservative in dozens of marginals. By splitting the right-wing vote, Restore Britain's most probable electoral impact may be to help the parties its own voters most despise hold seats they would otherwise forfeit. The SDP split the left in 1983. Labour ran on a left-wing manifesto. The SDP took the moderate left vote, and the result was Thatcher's landslide. The same dynamic could run in reverse in 2029. A hardline right party splitting the right vote and handing Labour, the Greens, or the Lib Dems seats they would otherwise lose. Farage himself observed, in a rare moment of self-awareness, that there are 11 parties currently claiming to represent the right or centre-right of British politics. Reform at around 25%, the Conservatives at around 16 to 18%, Restore Britain at around 7%, plus Advance UK, UKIP, the Heritage Party, the SDP, Reclaim, Britain First, and Andrew Tate's bruv, Britain Restoring Underlying Values. That's a real name that exists in the world. What colour is your baguette? The critic put it plainly. The worst case scenario in this very busy playing field is that votes are split across these parties in marginal seats that other parties, Labour, the Lib Dems, or God forbid the Greens, end up winning. 9 parties, same voters, merciless maths. So, where does all of this leave us? Restore Britain is a genuine political phenomenon. The membership figures, even accounting for the self-reporting caveat, are without precedent in British political history. The councillor defections are real, 7 from Kent County Council alone, making Restore the 3rd largest group on the council. The policy pressure on both Reform and Labour is measurable and documented. The 7% polling from a standing start in 2 weeks is remarkable. But the maths of first past the post was, and will be, merciless. Restore Britain faces the same structural wall that has frustrated every challenger party in modern British electoral history, and 86% of this country still cannot identify its leader. That, more than anything, is where the real work lies ahead. Only, none of that is actually the whole story. UKIP never won Westminster power. Nigel Farage stood for Parliament 7 times, and lost all 7. By every conventional electoral measure, UKIP was a failure. But UKIP forced Brexit, a referendum nobody expected to happen, on a result nobody expected to deliver. UKIP never formed a government. They made it impossible for the government not to move. The most consequential political forces in modern British history have often been the ones that never took office. They just made certain positions impossible to ignore. The question for Restore Britain isn't whether they'll win a majority in 2029. They probably won't, let's face it. The question is whether they can do what UKIP did. Force the agenda. Make a position unavoidable. Pull the Overton window somewhere no established party is willing to go. Whether that's a good thing or not depends entirely on which direction that window moves. And that's a conversation for another day. If you want the full picture on how we got here, the Reform split, the CPS clearing, why Lowe left in the first place, all of that is in our previous video, which the link is in the description or probably on screen somewhere around here. If this was useful, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next one.